Greetings and welcome to the Saturated Industry Podcast. My name is Danny.
I'm Steve.
And we're going to talk about Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
This movie comes immediately after Civil War and...
Well, we watched it immediately after.
Well, okay, but as in terms of the timeline of the movie itself.
Yeah, it's like...
I'm not sure when Doctor Strange takes place, but it doesn't seem to matter because it doesn't relate. And same with like Guardians of the Galaxy is in a different place. And Thor Ragnarok could be happening at the same time. I've no idea.
And then Black Panther is before this one.
Yeah.
Timeline-wise.
Well, yeah, it's after Civil War and before this, because this jumps 3 months ahead. Basically, the reason I bring it up is because this movie essentially overwrites all of Civil War, as far as I'm concerned, because immediately after Civil War, a war that Tony instigated because he believed in the regulation of superpowered people and like bringing them in line and having them all fall under the jurisdiction of the Sokovia Courts, whoever's in charge of the Sokovia Courts, which should be in place as of now, because the Sokovia Courts are being voted on the week of Civil War.
Yeah.
So I assume there's some sort of structure in place to deal with superpowered people, and Tony is completely has disregarded whatever that structure is and has decided that this one particular superpowered person is under his purview and his alone.
You think so?
I do.
You don't think that maybe this is him grooming Peter to he has permission to bring Peter on board through the Sokovia Courts, and this is him doing it?
No, I don't.
My take on this is that Tony was taking like a hands-off approach, but knew everything that was going on. He knew about the churro.
Peter told him. Peter sends him messages that he does.
No.
He refuses to take Peter's calls.
Peter sends Happy messages.
Yeah, and Happy. Who does Happy report to?
Why would Happy say anything about a churro?
What do you mean? Like, it's his job.
Why would he say that Peter went out and then saved an old lady and some old lady bought him a churro?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, okay. So also the baby monitor protocol. But then again, so that means that he gave this 15-year-old child a suit that had an instant kill function.
That he couldn't activate.
He knew this kid's capabilities. That's why he chose him.
Yeah.
And no, I don't believe it whatsoever. And the fact is, at the end, when he does offer Peter a place on the Avengers, and Peter turns him down, how does Pepper think that Tony unilaterally adding a 15-year-old kid, like an erratic 15-year-old kid, this kid is not a reliable person, to the team is like a cool idea? Like, she's fine with that. Like, Pepper Potts is fine with that.
I don't know.
Like, she's just given up on life. Just like,
why is she even there? Why does she have to do with the Avengers?
well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess the Avengers are kind of a subsidiary of Stark Enterprises at this point, right? Or Stark Industries.
I wouldn't say so. I think they're now more a subsidiary of the United Nations.
No, the Avengers initiative it's run by Tony Stark. It's a private enterprise, but they're mandated by the United Nations.
Yeah.
So, it's run by Tony. Like, all of this shit, like, the Quinjets we saw taken off at the end, containing I don't know who, but, and all these people...
Avengers agents.
Yeah, all these employees. Like, who are these people walking around in suits with briefcases and stuff? Like, what's their job? What do they do with the Avengers Initiative? Like,
busy work.
They're just the guy in a chair for thousands of superheroes to be discovered. No, I don't. No. First of all, he definitely didn't get anybody's permission to bring him on board in Leipzig and give him the suit and just throw him at the rest. Throw a 15-year-old kid at the rest of the Avengers and give him some vague guidelines on staying at a distance. Which maybe I would have bought that if at literally any point during the fight, except for after Peter almost gets killed, Tony made some kind of effort to be like, kid, back off.
Yeah.
Which he
or
doesn't.
gotten away or something.
Yeah, the kid gets right up in the face of pretty much everybody on Cap's side, and Tony does nothing about it. And yeah, he's an erratic 15-year-old that Tony has just gifted a multi-million-dollar instant kill suit to. And it flies in the face of everything Tony, Tony, the kind of self-proclaimed voice of reason in Civil War, has completely gone back on it. As far as I'm concerned, he's just like, no, it's as long as I think it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
Which you could argue that's been Tony this whole time, but then again, as we keep pointing out, that's been Cap this whole time, and Tony's been going the other way, where he increasingly feels like maybe not. I would say it's not even that he feels like he should have oversight. He wants someone else to take responsibility.
Yeah.
He feels like all of this weight is on his shoulders and his alone, and the buck stops with him, and he would just love to be able to shift that mantle to somebody else.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as assessment of Tony.
And so maybe, I guess, now he feels like that the mantle has been shifted over to the Sokovia Accords Council or whatever. He can just go back to do whatever the fuck he wants, which is what he does anyway, which is arming 15-year-olds. Like, it's...
Yeah, with taser webs and instant kill.
And, and the kind of... Like you said, so he shouldn't have been able to access the instant kill function, but he did, because he's Peter Parker, and Peter Parker's a genius. But then the kind of...
Well, Ned accessed it, really.
Ned hacked into the suit while Peter was stripping out the tracking device, which was really easy. He just found it and picked it out.
Yep.
But, like, the aptitude of Tony Stark, it varies so wildly.
Yeah.
Like, he was outsmarted by a couple of teenagers. Ned, who couldn't even, like... When he found out that Peter was Spider-Man, he still thought Peter also had the fucking job at Stark Enterprise. Like, how are you doing both of these things? Like, he couldn't put those two things together.
That's believable to me.
No, he's a believable character. I'm just saying, like, they're scatterbrained teenagers, you know? Like, yes, they go to, like, a school for gifted people, but they're of all the gifted people that we see, like all of the decathlon people and all the other people they meet in the school, they seem pretty freaking weird and out there, you know? Like, and Peter especially has like ADD or something. He cannot sit still. Like, so a lot of this movie is him like jumping up on beds and stuff and just announcing things, and he can't contain himself, you know? And I don't know how much of that is he's been bitten by a radioactive spider, and how much of that is Peter Parker's personality.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I mean, I'd be pretty excited if I got to go on a cool mission with the Avengers and I got a cool suit. I'd be jumping up on beds too.
Yeah, for sure. It's I don't know. But it's not just that. It's when they're like when he decides to go rogue and he's tailing the guys to Maryland or whatever, and he's trying to get what's his name on board with hacking the suit, and he like jumps up in the bed, and there's just something very like it's maybe it's just Tom Holland's performance, but there's just something very like. That kid needs to calm down.
Energetic.
Like that kid needs to relax.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't trust him with the multi-million-dollar kill suit. Like, I just wouldn't, you know?
Yeah.
It just seems hilariously irresponsible of Tony Stark. And especially because the start of this movie... So at the start of this movie, we get a sort of found footage version of events from Civil War from Peter's point of view.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the start. There's a cold open.
There's the intro of Tombs first.
But I've launched into this, so we're sticking to it. Like Peter's like how
homemade video.
Yeah, how Civil War looked from Peter's point of view. It was just like a roller coaster ride. It was an adventure where you got to play with all of his favorite heroes.
Yeah.
And then he got like dropped off at home by Tony, who like made crazy inappropriate comments about his aunt and like just acted like a creep, and then you know basically and then like let him keep the suit. Like I cannot fathom. I guess you could say like this was his, you know, show me what you got kid moment. Yeah. But that's just so irresponsible. Like this is New York City, and you're giving this kid a suit that augments his already impressive ability to hurt people. Yeah. No, come on. I think maybe, like you said, there's like a secret thing with the, you know, Tony Sokovia Accords. But I think if that was the case, there would have been a scene. There would have been a scene of Tony and William Hurt in a room going, I think this kid's got what it takes. And William Hurt going, okay, we'll let you play this out, Stark.
Or William Hurt being like, I think it's a bad idea, but I'll give you this one.
Yeah, like you literally turned on Cap and you've lost him now and you've lost all those people. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, you've taken this side. And yeah, like, if all it needed. It's like, there's an argument to be made for what you're saying. Like, the theory that maybe this is the new recruitment process for the Avengers. But I think if that were the case... At least not
the official process, but the Tony way of doing it.
I think if that were the case, like if that was intentional from the screenwriter director's perspective, there would have been a scene with him and William Hurt, or him and somebody, even him and Pepper, with Pepper going, Tony, are you sure about this? Yeah. Something. Yeah. And there wasn't. It was just Tony showing up whenever he felt like it and delivering dress downs. Yeah. Anyway, we skipped the cold open, which was an expertly, like they expertly wove the Vulture and Spider-Man into the continuity of the MCU.
It was perfect.
Just effortlessly. It was so organic.
Yeah, it was amazing. And it really establishes, like, Toombs as a person. Where he's just sitting there and looking at a picture his kid drew of the Avengers. standing under Stark Tower after the Battle of New York, and it's amazing. He's just like a regular guy who's got like his big break to salvage all this stuff.
It shows you Stark Tower, and then it brings you down to ground level to the regular people.
Yeah.
And this is what happens. Like, so this they introduce as well the Department of Damage Control. Like, this is how the world is from our point of view.
Yeah,
down here,
regular Joes.
Yeah, there's literally an industry developing based around cleaning up after the Avengers.
Yeah.
And this guy is like,
he's like capitalizing on it. He's like, this is his big break. He's like brought in a new crew. He's got lots of stuff. Everything's going well for him, and then he gets shit on by the Department of
Damage
Control.
A real kind of
DODC.
fatalistic, defeatist nomenclature, right? Like,
things are going to get damaged.
Yeah.
We gotta clean it.
We've come to accept that on a quasi-regular basis, our cities will be damaged beyond repair.
Yeah.
And so we're going to need to control that. Yeah, no, and they appear a couple times in the movie. I wonder about the Department of Damage Control, because they show up after the bodega incident.
Yeah.
So, do they just respond to all acts of vigilantism?
Maybe not vigilantism, but maybe things where there's reported like alien tech.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they were using those fancy guns.
Yeah, because that's what their purview is: stopping alien tech getting to the general public. They're not great at it, apparently, but that's what they do. But I really like the scene because it's like Toombs is like your regular everyday dude, and then he's got that edge to him because he punches the guy.
Sure.
So he's got anger issues, and he's like no, and then it goes on, and they still have a truckload of stuff, and it's like no, we're gonna change. Like, the world's changing, we're gonna change with it. And then cut to
8 years later, and he's an arms dealer. I felt like he became a criminal instantaneously. Now, had he been introduced as a kind of, like, had he snaked this job, right? Like, had he stolen it from under somebody else, or had he faked the permits? Like, if there was some kind of like hint that this guy, but they establish him first and foremost as like a father, with the picture that his kid drew, and he seems, for the most part, like a reasonable guy. Like, the guy comes into work late and he gets angry about him, but then he's like, just go to work, like,
just stack those armor plates.
Yeah, he comes across like a reasonable man, and then he gets crossed by the DODC, who are like, when you see the DODC logo, you see Tony Stark's face, and so it's immediately Tony Stark's the enemy.
It's Tony Stark has partnered with the US government and the the DODC to clean up after the Avengers.
And so, like, I'm fine with that, with him kind of considering Tony Stark the enemy in the Avengers. Not the Avengers, but like Tony Stark the enemy. Or like
the rich elite. Because they even make the point of, now the rich are getting richer off of the mess they're making.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the Avengers go around tearing shit up, and then they make a fortune cleaning up after.
Yeah, and then the tech guys say, the system's rigged.
And I liked, like, it was good. I just felt like he went from, sort of, what's the word? Like, feeling sorry for himself to, I'm going to become a criminal mastermind in a moment. Yeah,
well, we do skip 8 years, so I imagine there's a lot that happened during that 8 years that turned him from the man he was into the weapons dealer. I imagine he didn't start out immediately going, let's turn these into weapons and sell them. Probably was just like, let's see what we can sell these for, so that we can make some money, because we need to make money off of this somehow. Okay. And then as time went on, and as the tinkerer continued to tinker with things and make things, they're like, well, we could do this and sell it and they'll make more money.
Okay.
And a lot of them, like, yes, they are weapons, but a lot of them are also tools.
Yeah.
That just can be used as weapons because they're crazy alien tools.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I felt like while I was watching it that there was a kind of, there was a birth of a supervillain moment where it kind of, the camera kind of shifted around and his face kind of turned a little bit. And he said something ominous and the music changed, and I was like, okay, so he's a villain now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it felt cut short. It could have definitely been expanded upon a bit more.
But still, they picked the right guy to give nothing to and then turn it into gold. Like
yes.
Michael Keaton.
Oh my
once
gosh.
again playing a bird. He's fantastic. He's real, like, because he's a very slight person. Like, he's a very small man.
Yeah.
But a very intimidating presence.
Yeah, and oh my god, I don't know if it was just the bass on your sound system or something, but my god, his voice in this film was amazing.
Yeah, his voice is really deep. No, his voice is deep in general. Like in Birdman as well, I noticed.
It's really, like,
gravelly. don't know if he's just like that's his method. Just drinks a bunch of whiskey and smokes endlessly. But then the meat of the movie is a high school comedy.
It's sort of like a day in the life of Peter Parker.
Yeah,
it's just following him through like
school,
high school foibles.
Yeah, because he's mostly like it reminded me of a kind of Michael Cera, Jonah Hill type high school comedy drama, where the high school, like, it's heightened, but it feels like a real high school. You know, there's the kind of the running jokes of like the mascot is always running somewhere, and like that Asian kid who's just real spot on, notices when anything's out of whack, or like. There's a bunch of little...
I noticed at this time there's always people running around in the backgrounds carrying projects or wearing projects. They always have some crazy stuff going on.
What's the mascot? There's the school mascot is...
No, like I saw someone wearing like a helmet with like electronics on it.
Oh yeah.
Walking into a door, and people like carrying like big dioramas and stuff.
Well, because this is the kind of the school for smart
Gifted
boys.
children.
Yeah, like the kind of... What's it called? It's like the...
It's like an MIT prep school, almost.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, I know what it's called, though. It's like it's a tech school. Because he's in it in the other movie, which is weird because... like Tobey Maguire's in it in the original Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the original Flash Thompson, who's like Joe Manganiello, who's just pure bruiser, dumbass, like, is in this school.
Yeah.
But this school feels more like akin to like how like from the like cartoons and comics and whatnot, like what I know about Spider-Man, the school that he went to is supposed to be this kind of school for smartasses.
Yeah, which I like because they couldn't have the jock Flash. So I like what they did with the Flash here.
It's just sort of an alpha nerd.
Yeah,
yeah, and it's just like played really normal. Like they even have that guy, I don't know the actor's name, but he's in almost every Seth Rogen movie as that guy who plays a teacher who's like the guy who takes them on the field trip, who like lost some people on the last field trip, and he's just like that, the master of deadpan, like just completely stone faced, and nearly everything he says is hilarious, but nothing's played for comedy, and it feels like a real school. Like nobody's making actual jokes; everyone's just making fun of each other.
Yeah, like you would in a school,
in a real school. Yeah,
yeah. I got from the Ned, like Ned felt like my friends felt like at school while watching this movie. He felt like my friends that in school felt like when I was hanging out with them. So it felt really authentic to me, all of the friendships and stuff in this movie.
And then one of them happens to be Spider-Man.
And yeah.
Which, yeah, they played it really well. Like it's like the first time we've ever seen Spider-Man be a kid. Like I don't know how old Tom Holland is, but he looks about 15 to me. And all of the like Tobey Maguire was like 31 when he played the 16-year-old Spider-Man, and then like whatever the other guy's name was like mid-20s or something. I'm pretty sure this guy's a teenager. If he isn't now, he was then.
Yeah, I don't know how old he is, but he definitely feels the youngest.
Yeah, and it changes how you perceive the character of Spider-Man, because there was something very introspective about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Yeah. There was something very like cavalier about the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, where he was kind of not Peter Parker at all. Like he was real cool, and he rode a skateboard, and he was like always sassing people.
Yeah.
But this one feels like the Spider-Man I remember from the Spider-Man cartoons, where even when he was like a grown-up and had a job taking pictures and stuff, he was still just a big kid, like just a giant child with like superpowers who can like stop a bus with his bare hands.
Yeah, oh god, I got a point about that later.
But yeah, and I also really liked, so just since we're talking about the kind of the major points of Spider-Man, that nobody ever said the name Ben. Nobody mentioned Uncle Ben at all. And yet, despite that, you still feel his absence. Like, there was a scene... Well, there's lots of scenes...
there's lots of hints about something that's gone on.
And there's scenes with Aunt May where she kind of... Like, at first, Marissa Tomei plays her very kind of, I'm the cool aunt, like, but... There's like an edge to her. There's an edge to her all the time. And later in the movie, after the ferry scene, when she hasn't heard from him in almost 24 hours, she's lost it. But it felt like it didn't feel like, okay, and now in this scene you've lost it. It felt more like this has been under the surface the whole time. It's been percolating. This anxiety, she lives with this anxiety all the time. She's been holding on to it, and now 24 hours have gone by and she hasn't heard from Peter, and that's it. That's her limit. She's crossed the threshold, and she's completely like, she's so frantic when he gets home. Yeah. And yet even in that would have been like the obvious place where she could have said, since your uncle died, like that would have been the perfect, like not the perfect, I would have hated it if they'd done it, but that would have been the kind of obvious Hollywood screenwriter thing of like shove the uncle thing in there now. with great power.
Yeah, I'm really glad they didn't.
But they didn't, and for him not being there, now I feel it even more. You know what I mean? Like the fact that we didn't have fucking the president from the West Wing, or
we as an audience know about Aunt May and Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And because he's not there and not mentioned, we know that he's not there, even if it's not mentioned.
Yeah. But even if you didn't know, like, so that's because that's that's the argument they always present, is that every time they have to do fucking Batman's origin stories, like, well, what about people who didn't know his parents were killed? But you wouldn't need to know that Uncle Ben was killed to know that something happened here. Yeah. You wouldn't even need to know the name Uncle Ben. You wouldn't even need to know, like, the fact that he lives with Aunt May, not Mom and Dad.
Yeah, is enough to know that
something happened, and then, like, it's...
Yeah, between this and the scene in Civil War, we find out that something happened 6 months ago in Civil War, so like 8-9 months ago now.
Yeah.
So it's recent that this thing has happened. And that's why, like... And Peter even alludes to it, not after everything that's happened with Aunt May. I can't do that to her. So we know something has gone on.
Peter, though, seems a lot better adjusted. And also, didn't mention that, weirdly, now that I think of it, when Tony Stark asks him, like, why do you do this? Like, so you have these powers, why do you use them this way?
He did.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
No, but he said something, I thought he said,
He said, when you have the abilities I do, and the bad stuff happens... and you don't do something about it, and bad stuff happens. That's on you.
Okay, but that's not saying it.
But like that's because he wouldn't say it. Not to Tony. Not then.
Okay, fair enough.
That was definitely him saying, "Uncle Ben died, and it's my fault, so I have to do this."
Fair enough.
It's there. It's there. With great power comes great responsibility. Without saying it.
I guess though, what I'm getting at is he doesn't act like someone who has learned that lesson.
Yeah.
In this movie at all.
Yeah.
He's completely irresponsible throughout the entire thing, which is necessary because this is like a breakneck fucking paced movie where he's just running from action to action. But
yeah, there's a scene in here after the bank robbery when the bodega gets destroyed.
Yeah.
I thought that would hit him more than it does in the movie. I thought it would affect him more than it does because
the bodega scene.
Yeah, because like he tried to do something good and then someone nearly died because of it. So I thought that would hit him more than it does because of the Uncle Ben thing or whatever's happened there.
Yeah,
but it isn't shown in this movie.
Nothing really hits him in this movie. Nothing really hits him in this movie, and that's like, I guess that's just the way they're going with this character. He's like a very devil may care kind of like just. Or maybe he is so erratic that he doesn't. He's not processing any of what's going on. He's just moving forward.
He feels like a teenager dialed up to like 20, where he just wants to grow up to do all of the things everyone else is doing, but he can't because he's too young and everyone sees him still as a kid, and so he just wants to do everything. He wants to show everybody how capable he is, but he is a kid who can stop a bus. And maybe that energy comes from being Spider-Man. Maybe being Spider-Man, you have all of that excess energy, and he doesn't know how to control it yet. But that might be giving him too much credit.
Maybe. Like, I kind of feel as if the game plan for this movie was, let's just have as much fun as possible, and
it is a very funny movie.
Consequences be damned. Like, it was a really fun movie, and so much fun to watch, but taken in the broader context, like technically this is still a Sony movie, I guess, so it's only sort of in the MCU, but Iron Man's in it, and Civil War is referenced and matters, and so actually the events of the Avengers movie matters because of where the Vulture comes from, so it is tied in there, and it's, it's pretty locked in, and yet, like I said about like the Sokovia Accords and just consequences in general, like it doesn't feel
for a movie who deals with the consequences of other movies, it sort of misses some of them and like picks and chooses which movies' consequences it looks at. Yeah,
and also just the kind of the Marvel aesthetic, not aesthetic, that's visual. The Marvel, that's like a philosophical version of aesthetic. Credo?
Yeah, like, creed, something like that.
The Marvel creed of character consistency, character trajectory that
is a bit off here.
It doesn't feel like, not only is Spider-Man sort of just on a straight line the entire time, I would argue, and I already have argued for the first 15 minutes, that like it just completely undermines everything that happened in Civil War for Tony,
yeah,
and for Cap to a small degree, because there is a scene later that the coach kind of laughs off, like, I guess this guy's a war criminal now, but whatever. And he plays the tape of the guy who, he says that, which makes me think that in the 3 months since, on American television, it's been declared that Captain America is a war criminal. Like, Captain America has gone against the state.
The Sokovia Accords.
So
it's now an enemy of the state or something.
So then, what the fuck are you playing this video? Like, I know it was a setup for the best after credit scene ever, but like, it's just, you know, come on. That's like they did. It's just an example of them like playing that scene, like the most fun you could have in a scene.
Yeah.
Where they're all in the gym, and who better, like, that thing of playing a video of a famous athlete or whatever in the gym. I've heard of that. We didn't have it, obviously. I don't know if you're
no, we definitely didn't have it.
But
we also didn't have to climb up ropes.
Yeah, I know, right? We didn't have roofs. No, but the fact that and it turns out to be Iron Man or Captain America, but then it's like a throwaway kind of, I guess that guy's a war criminal now. Then you're a public school. You're not playing this guy's fucking fitness tape.
I guess this is also a jab at the sort of glacial pace sometimes that government can move at, where that, yes, he's now a war criminal, it's been 3 months, but no one's stopped the mandate that we have to play these videos. So
sure, that'd be fine, and I would go along with that if it were not for the Department of Damage Control springing into existence the day after the incident, right?
True, yeah.
So it's, you know, like I said, the movie, obviously this is a fucking Marvel movie. It takes place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where everything is heightened and everything is fucking bonkers, and we've established that it is just getting more and more bananas with each installment. However, it still needs to have its own internal consistency, and this movie does not measure up to that at all.
Yeah.
That said,
especially because it comes, like, it is like the movie closest to Civil War. Like, that deals with characters. The fallout of Civil War and characters from Civil War that should be acting a certain way and don't.
Yeah, like, exactly. And I guess you could just say that. Look, what I'm trying to say is that Tony doesn't seem to have learned anything from Civil War, and you could say that, well, Tony never learns anything from anything. So, but if the entire fucking MCU, if all 18 of these movies have been building up to this one Infinity War movie where Tony finally learns his lesson, like, come on, that's not cool, guys.
Yeah, Tony is being responsible in one way, though. He is moving fucking the tower. He's moving out of the tower in the center of a very densely populated area, taking all of the stuff that bad guys could attack and putting it in the middle of the country or upper state New York, wherever. That is like one shred of responsibleness that he shows.
Also, conveniently,
or it could have been Pepper.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is moving out of New York, where Spider-Man will now have solo films, and nobody will have to ask the question, why isn't Iron Man intervening?
True. Yeah, okay.
Although then they'll have to deal with why aren't the Defenders intervening, but whatever.
Especially because, you know, Kingpin is such a Spider-Man villain, to me, at least.
Like, it is, that is a responsible thing that he's doing, and they do kind of, like you said, they play it where he's watching everything, and he's in the background, but he's under guard the entire time. But I think they do that on purpose, so they don't have to actually show any progression. Like, it's just a conceit. Like, you could argue that he's moving out of the city to be responsible, and that he's watching over Peter at all times and being responsible, but nothing in the movie establishes that. That's just an argument you could make. Yeah. And both sides.
I'm well aware that this is my take on what Tony's doing in the movie.
No, but what I mean is, I think that's intentional. I think the movie didn't come down on either side of it, so that they wouldn't have to deal with the fallout of it. Yeah. Because maybe this movie wouldn't have worked. Like, this is the first kind of, I guess, Sony MCU.
Yeah. So this is their
collaboration.
Collab, because Sony keeps trying to make Spider-Man movies and they keep not working.
Yeah.
And now they made one that worked because of Marvel.
Pretty much. So, yeah, I guess this was kind of an experiment, and they needed to leave all of their options open. So they couldn't, I suppose, show any real MCU Tony Stark character progression in this Sony collaboration, because what if that affected the MCU? But then again, continuity used to be a very big priority. Like, that's something we pointed out a lot in phase 1 and 2, that character progression seemed to be key, like central to the entire thing, regardless of anything else that was going on. And it feels like not so much anymore, like, especially in phase 3, especially with what they've done with Thor, what they've done with Hulk, what they've done.
Well, yeah, I'd agree with that. Hulk, we never got to see a lot of Hulk on his own besides Thor Ragnarok. So the Hulk, I don't know, but definitely Thor, his sort of progression is all over the place.
It's more. It's not that. So I'm not necessarily just talking about the through line of Hulk. Let's say going through all the MCU. I'm actually just talking about character consistency in single movies. So like, a big part of Hulk was the fact that first of all, Hulk has been Hulk or Thor Ragnarok was that Hulk had been Hulk for like 2 years. And we're going to end up talking about this again, Thor Ragnarok. I know, but I'm just on this point 'cause it's a point I want to make because it's also just sometimes the strength of the single movies was that the character was consistent with his portrayal before, and like we were saying, you could leapfrog movies and the character would be more or less where you would expect them to be.
Yeah.
Hulk is Hulk for like 2 years by the time we see him again in Thor Ragnarok, and then when he becomes Banner again, he's terrified, and he's like, he has a bunch of scenes with Thor where he's like, I don't ever want to be Hulk again because what if I never come back? And he says, I feel like I won't ever come back. This will be the end of me. And then at the end of it, he's like, actually, fuck it, and he dives off. And they have that hilarious. He fucking dies and falls off the bridge, and then comes back up as a Hulk. And it's just a joke. They throw it away. Like it's a very important piece of character progression that they throw away, and that happens here as well in this movie.
Yeah, I've got problems with Ragnarok that we'll get to when we get to.
But yeah, it's like a Phase 3 thing though for me, where they seem to have like everything's gotten so sprawling and epic and complicated that they've kind of loosened up the reins a bit on the character consistency just to kind of get the movies finished, like to get the stories to the conclusions, where I don't like it. I mean, that's what I liked about the MCU. I think you're kind of missing the point here. What we care about is I don't understand how movie makers, when they have these franchises and they kind of get so big, that at some point they just sort of forget why people like them, like why what we like about these things in the first place. It's like, no, you wanted explosions and colourful and heroes fighting and everything, right?
No, you want the characters.
Yeah, like what we care about at the end of the day is the characters. And yeah, the big explosion-filled fight scenes with colourful superheroes are what, like when we see that in the trailer, that's going to make us salivate for the movie. But in terms of like loyalty to your cinematic universe, that comes down to character. That comes down to, I like this certain set of characters, and because they have these traits and values that I empathize with and relate to,
and we see them grow over time, like people do, and that's what storytelling is. And it just like if you bear in mind that the MCU is a sort of unprecedented experiment in storytelling with this kind of multi-continuity universe spanning a bunch of different movies, a bunch of different tones, and a bunch of different like genres. Even when you get into Phase 2 and like the Winter Soldier and the Ant-Man, and just this blending of different styles and takes, but all held together, like all solidified by this consistency of character progression. And it just feels like, because Spider-Man Homecoming is technically a Phase 3 movie. I mean, it's also this collaboration thing, but it is. There's parts of Phase 3 that matter here because, in fact, they mention Cap's prototype shield, Thor's magic belt, and one other thing, the
Hulkbuster armor. Like, I lost the point. I'm just going to stop because I can't remember. I don't want to trail off and just tie myself up in knots.
You're just, again, you're coming around to the fact that it feels sort of strange that the characters are not consistent here.
Yeah, it just like it's exploded as of Phase 3, where they are going for spectacle. Yeah,
and sort of lost something, and they need to tighten the character arcs back up, I think.
Yeah, but that said, the Russo brothers are doing Infinity War, and
their films have been amazing.
Yeah, in terms of like being true to the characters, I think they're probably the best so far.
Yeah, I think their films are probably like my highest ranked Marvel films.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
So Vulture's guys. So the way that Peter kind of gets involved in the Vulture's machinations is that when he's at a party at Liz's house, he's on the roof and he's going to swing in and be like, "Hey, I'm Spider-Man," and they've got a whole plan where he's going to make Ned look cool.
Them being nervous going to this party is too cringingly familiar to my own teenage years. When I would be like, "Okay, I'm going to a party. Okay, here we go." Standing outside, ready to go into this party, and being nervous and not knowing what to do and wearing crazy outfits.
We had very different teenage years. But yeah, so he's on the roof and he's going to like make a big song and dance, and then he sees this explosion.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a couple of blocks plus a golf course away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're in the suburbs. So.
Yeah. So vultures, so they've been doing this for 8 years. They are successful arms dealers.
Yeah.
And they've been under the radar that entire time. So they are good at their jobs. The vultures guys are selling like plasma blaster weaponry in the vulture's neighborhood where he lives. Liz is his daughter. That's his home. He lives
That
here.
is true.
And they're selling weapons that Peter can see from his roof.
Yeah.
What? Like what kind of fucking amateur hour is this?
That's a good point.
Like, I know you needed to get Spider-Man into it, but like
that is a really good point.
that's just something that I like on watching it and taking notes this time and just putting two and two together. Like that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, especially since they have like they're so secretive. Like they have their secret base, and it's really hard for Peter to track them down. Like, why are they selling guns? Like, they literally drove the guns from their super secret base to his house, to like just like I said, a couple blocks on a golf course
like
away from his
or two.
house. Like, Peter runs there, you know.
Yeah.
It's just silly.
It is. That is pretty silly. You mentioned it.
Anyway, that's just something that, and also, so then Peter goes on a kind of a rampage to like. I mean, he goes and finds them, and then like he's trying to hold on to their van, and and the guy's like shooting randomly.
Well, first of all, I really liked how Peter is not used to his powers, and even though he's like got crazy reflexes and crazy strong, he crashes into a shed and he like knocks people's drain pipes off and like destroys their roofs as he's tumbling down them. I like that he's not as practiced as the superheroes we're used to. He feels not like he's new to these powers, which I guess he is, because it's only been like 8 months. So it's a really nice feeling that's different, that again separates him a little bit from the rest of the heroes.
Sure. Are the Department of Damage Control going to pay for all of the suburban damage here? Like,
I guess Tony's going to pay for it.
It's because like he destroys and he just kind of like, you know, it's played for comedy, but he's like just rampaging through these people's backyards and destroying everything. And then we get the kind of first. So then we sort of find out that Tony at this point is Big Brother.
Yeah.
Right? So like he is literally tracking Peter everywhere he goes. We find out about the training wheels protocol and then the baby monitor protocol. So Tony.
Well, we find out about them later. So here we find out that so the suit, like Peter is like about to stop the van, and the vulture grabs him, and the vulture is intimidating in this scene. Which is amazing.
Is that
because
weird jerky head movement where
the
you see
vulture from the cartoons was like a guy in a green suit, like a green feathery suit. Making him into this in the film is an achievement.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same with the Green Goblin. He's just it was a Halloween costume and like pumpkin bombs.
Yeah, pumpkin.
They turned it into power armor. Like, that was a good idea.
Yeah, I really like how it's almost a mockery of the Iron Man suit, the Vulture suit. We even get the Vulture scenes where it's like the typical Iron Man camera angle of just the actor's head and just the green lights in his eyes. It's a nice like duality because he hates Iron Man, but he sort of like is Iron Man in a way. It's really nice.
More like the Falcon, but okay.
True.
But so they get to a certain height and a parachute erupts out of it. Yeah, and this is the first of a bunch of scenes where we slowly find out that Peter has been under surveillance the entire time, essentially.
Yeah, because he crashes into water and an empty Iron Man suit comes and saves him. And
it turns out Iron Man's in India. I wonder what he's doing there.
Yeah.
I wonder, is that just a throwaway, or is there going to be an Indian Avenger? Dalsim. But Tony Stark, who has, and I know he's sort of on the opposite side of this now, but his entire life railed against authority.
Yeah.
Has put a tracker in Peter's suit. We find out later, put the baby monitor program, which essentially means he sees everything Peter sees. And he's recording all of it. Yeah. And like you said, he knows about the churro. And so if we're to take that Happy didn't tell him and that he just watches the footage, then that means he's literally spying.
Has an AI watch the footage and give him out the details.
So he they kind of play it like obviously he is a father figure to Peter.
Yeah.
And he's trying to be a better father figure than his father was.
And sort of failing.
But also, like, like a despicable person. Like he's 15 years old, and you've put a tracker on him, and you're recording everything he does. What if you jerked off in the suit? Like, no, I'm serious though. Like, it's not something you're supposed to think about because this is a lighthearted movie.
Yeah.
But if you really examine Tony's actions here, like, this is literally illegal.
Yeah.
Whatever about the Sokovia Accords, whatever authority he has over superpowered people, and maybe this is an actual training program. This is not okay.
Yeah.
You can't track a 15-year-old, and you definitely can't record them at all times. But yeah, I just wanted to point that's another kind of wildly inconsistent character thing that I wouldn't have expected out of Iron Man. Even after Civil War, I wouldn't have like this. Just it's played so light in that typical Marvel way, but if you just take a second and think about the reality of what he's doing, that's not dark. Okay. Even in the context of Marvel, that's not okay.
Even for Tony Stark, who is the person who needs to control everything, it's still a step too far. Like, tracking, yes. Recording everything, no. I can see Tony putting a tracker on the suit, because that just makes sense.
I think it's his property, I suppose.
But recording everything the suit sees and hears, no, that'll be a step too far.
And then Spider-Man's sort of... So they have an argument over like whether Spider-Man is ready to be like handling criminals on his own, or like going after
this level of criminal.
Yeah, this level. And Tony's like, no, there's other authorities. Not the Avengers.
This is above your pay grade, and this is below the Avengers pay grade.
But there's somewhere in there that'll take care of it. And
then he just leaves.
Well, no, and then he just leaves. Like it's very curt. But Peter's rebuke is that he helped in Civil War, didn't he? Like, I helped in the airport fight. And he's like, kid, if Cap wanted to take you out, he would have.
Yeah.
So, once again, there were no stakes in that fight. Even Iron Man knows there were no stakes. Nobody was ever going to get hurt. And if anybody wanted to hurt anybody, they would have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's the point I made.
If anybody wanted to... Yeah, if anybody wanted to...
They were all pulling their punches.
So it's... I don't know, it's just kind of...
I think this was also...
It retroactively neuters the scene for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not... Obviously, it's still amazing, and I love watching them all do all their crazy little things, but still, there were no stakes, there's no drama, and the more times I see it, the more I think about it, it's just... Nothing happened. There was no drama in it. And
well, here we're going to disagree again, where I think the drama is about Cap trying to get away, not about anyone potentially getting hurt. But this Cap saying... or
then,
Stark,
in order to get away, Cap should have hurt somebody.
But Cap wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I know. But then, if you're saying that the drama comes from Cap having to get away, and that everybody needs to pull their punches in order for nobody to get hurt, but that means that they would remain at a stalemate forever until somebody hurts somebody, then I would say Cap should have made a choice to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
To get away.
Yeah.
But
that would be good.
The point is, in this movie, like, it's just... They're just so fucking cavalier with these lines, where he's like, Cap would have... Like, if Cap wanted to lay you out, he would have.
Yeah, I read that as also him referencing the fight against Cap at the end, where they weren't holding their punches, where Cap laid Tony out.
Oh, that's true. Right, okay. That's,
Where he's like, no, if Cap wanted to stop you, he would have stopped you.
That's a good point, I didn't think about that.
Because
although Cap had the perfect conditions, because Tony was trapped in a, 7-foot room, so, none of what his suit is good at could be used.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, that's fair.
That was my take on the line. I'm like, that's sort of like a self-deprecating humor almost, that like a double speak that only Tony would get.
Yeah.
And we as the audience.
Okay. Yeah, no, I hadn't considered that angle. That actually does... I like the line a little more now. Right, and then Peter ignores him and decides to track down these guys anyway.
Yeah.
And he ends up...
Because Tony doesn't tell Peter that he's going to let the FBI know. He just goes, no, just leave it, and then flies away.
I think that's called the hold-on maneuver.
Yeah.
So this is an example of something that happens a lot in this movie, where everything works out for Peter, but nothing works out for Spider-Man. So Peter needs to get to Maryland, which is on the way to DC, and in order to do that, he needs to get back on the academic decathlon team, which he quit to be an Avenger. And he shows up literally as they are
getting on the bus
in their uniforms, ready to go to the decathlon, and says, "Hey, I was hoping I could join the team again." He's like, "Hey, Peter, welcome back to the team." No problem.
Yep.
And there's another... I wrote down a couple of them.
This scene in particular makes me understand why Flash hates Peter.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my god.
What? Yeah, everyone just gives it, like, because everyone in the school is smart, right?
Yeah.
It's a school for smart people, so why does Peter get all the breaks?
Because Peter's the smartest.
But yeah, so he gets back on the team. There's no consequences for him when he flees detention. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like, there's a scene where later, after whatever happened, he flees detention to do something, and then later on there's a scene where it cuts back to him in the principal's office. The principal's like, "You're a good kid, just keep your nose out of trouble."
Yeah.
Okay. And then, after everything, he asks Liz out, like, asks Liz to the dance, and she's like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
Like, no problem. There's no, he can literally have whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But he's never happy. Like, you know? I don't know.
But yeah, that's also sort of the through line of the movie. Like, if he just took a second to appreciate what
he's got.
Yeah, what he's got. And being just a teenager, appreciate being a teenager, instead of desperately trying to grow up and become Avenger instantly. That's like the whole point. That's the whole... His arc in the movie is, I want to be Avenger, I don't want to be a kid anymore. And then at the end, he's like, no, actually, I'm gonna be a kid for a little while longer. I'm happy where I am right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a pretty insightful way to look at it. No, I hadn't considered that. I suppose, yeah, if you take those as examples of Peter just being oblivious, then
yeah,
for sure. But it's something I noted because it's the polar opposite of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, where nothing works out for Peter ever.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man keeps rising in popularity.
Yeah.
I love that scene. So there's the ferry scene, which I'm not going to go through it all, but there's just a scene in the ferry where he cuts the ferry in half and then stitches it all together, and there's a guy who goes, "Yeah, Spider-Man!" And then it doesn't work, and then Iron Man shows up and saves him. He's like, "Yeah, Iron Man!" People are so fickle, is all I'm trying to say.
Amazing.
So he needs to go, so he tracks the people down, and he gets knocked out because he's literally not ready. He just calls the guy out, and he does this a couple times in the movie where he's just like, "Hey, buddy, I got you," and then the guy literally takes a step, and Peter falls down, and then tries to jump out and cracks his head, and he's unconscious.
Yeah.
He just keeps throwing himself into these situations, and he's not ready whatsoever.
Yeah.
But we skipped over, so that's also where he deactivates the training wheels protocol, and we meet Karen, his relationship and life coach.
So he lots of things happen in this movie. Oh my god! But he makes an important scene here for me anyway was when he's after they disabled the tracker and he's getting ready to go and find these guys. He runs into Liz in the hotel and she's like, "Come on, we're gonna go for a swim." And Peter makes the grown-up choice where he's sacrificing time with her and with his friends to make the grown-up important decision, sort of. And it feels like he's... how do I put this? He feels like he's, again, too eager to be Spider-Man.
Okay.
And sacrificing too much of Peter Parker and Peter Parker's experiences for it. Because you see them, he's on the roof and he's looking down at them through the roof, and he takes a second to look at them, and then he's like, "No, I gotta go."
It's weird though that in a movie where he's supposedly making all these mature decisions to do the right thing and be a grown-up, he's hopelessly immature.
Yeah, well, I think they're not the mature decisions. They're what he thinks are the mature decisions. These are the things that he thinks he has to do to become an Avenger. I mean, yes, they are good decisions. These are the things that they're good things to do because he's a superhero. He's doing good things, but he's sacrificing a lot of himself that I think he's not realizing it or not fully cognizant of what he's giving up.
That's way more than I would have given the movie. But no, it's a good point. It's something I didn't. I find Peter Parker really shallow in this interpretation. But now that you say that, yeah, there's another way to look at this movie. There's just something. Maybe it's just because of how
lighthearted it is.
Well, just not even. I'm fine with lighthearted. It's more with how cavalier it is about where characters are supposed to be in their own storylines. That just made me dislike it. And the fact that he's at all times this kind of coked up lunatic.
Yeah.
You know, he is a very authentic teenager. He reminds me of all those guys I used to know who'd be addicted to Jolt and just could not focus on anything ever.
Yeah.
But I suppose a movie can be deep without its main character being deep. Now that I think about it, it was trying to make a point about how teenagers can be very shallow.
Yeah.
But a story can still be a very rich and layered experience. No, that's a good point. Yeah, the fact that he's, because to me, I was like, do both. You know, like when I was thinking, like, just go and like spend half an hour down there and be like, no, I'm getting tired, and then go fight crime.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't like. I know it turns out later that it's like a heist and he needs to be there at a certain time, but he didn't know that. Like, but yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, because he could have just tracked. Like the tracker's going to be there. He's going to know where they've all been, so he could just go there at any time.
Exactly. But yeah, he doesn't. He goes ahead, and we meet Karen, who's his suit, who is so. Basically, he has a kind of Iron Man spider suit, an Iron Spider suit, and so Tony has put an AI in the suit, which he had to get through the firewall to talk to.
Yeah.
And I guess the casting director or whoever's in charge of characters at Marvel said, well, we should probably get Paul Bettany, right? I mean, he's the guy everybody knows as the voice of the Stark AI. It's like, oh no, well, he's kind of Vision now, we don't want to confuse people. Oh, what's his wife doing? Right, well, we'll get Jennifer Connelly. So Jennifer Connelly is the voice of the voice of the suit whose name becomes Karen.
Yeah.
And she's great. Like,
Karen is pretty amazing.
She starts off and she's mostly just teaching him about what his suit can do now.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, she's 100% his life coach.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like she's sort of us. Right? Because there's like the scene they set up later in the DC scene where he has to save, I keep trying to say Mary Jane, save Liz in the elevator, and he like puts her back on the thing, and then he's upside down and she's right way up, and you're like, they're in the exact same position.
The Spider-Man
kiss, and then like right in his ear, and it's her voice. Like, we know that only Peter can hear her voice, but the way the sound is mixed, it's like everybody can hear her voice or something. You know, like when he's on the phone with Tony Stark and he tells him that I'm at school, and Karen goes, no, you're not. You're like, shut up, Karen. But yeah, it's like, just lean in, just kiss her, this is your chance. And it's cool because a real person wouldn't say that. You know what I mean? Like, it's a real person would know better than to say that this is definitely not your chance. It's a very inappropriate situation to get your first kiss from Liz in. But she's a robot, and this is kind of a huge leap to make, but just going back to what you were saying about Ultron in Age of Ultron and the fact that he doesn't behave like a robot, he behaves like Tony Stark the whole movie. Yeah. This is an example of a robot behaving like a robot. And she's still got warmth and personality and character, and she feels like a person, but she's a robot. She doesn't get it. Yeah. There's like a wall between her and real human interaction. And,
which is pretty consistent for, like, Tony's AI.
Yeah, like Friday and Jarvis are the same. It's it's clever.
I have a question.
Ask it.
The DODC vault that Peter's in, the most heavily secured building on the eastern seaboard, he breaks out of that real easy. Conveniently easy, one might say.
I guess it's... I actually thought... I was wondering why it wasn't, but I actually thought, since it's daytime when he breaks out, that he'd be like, oh, I got it! But it's like, no, it's morning. It's open now. Like,
that was my take on it the first time as well. I thought like a truck would have drove in and he would have just dropped, like it opened because a truck was coming in or something.
And I assume that would be kind of an obvious joke to make. I guess they didn't want to. Maybe they wanted to show that he's really good with the computers or whatever. Yeah. And I suppose you could say that these are the kind of places that are designed to be impossible to break into, not break out of. Yeah. But yeah, it is really easy. Like he suddenly has the tools he needs. He's got that thing for checking voltage. That like
a multimeter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he brought that.
Oh, did he?
He brought that with him to the hotel so that they could work on the suit.
Oh, right.
And then for some reason, when he went to stake out to follow the people as Spider-Man, he brought his backpack and fought Vulture on the top of the
with the backpack,
the freight plane with the backpack on.
Literally just so he could break out of the DODC later.
Yeah.
And then he once again sticks his backpack to the tree, which I assume to a tree when he's running.
It's like a running joke.
The Washington Monument. There's got to be a better thing to do with your backpacks, dude.
Or stick it up higher than like regular people level.
Yeah, I guess it's like another nod to the authentic teenage experience of just losing your shit all the time.
Yeah, I do like as well the way they showed the different passages of time for when you're younger to when you're older. When Peter's like doing loads of shit and spending ages in this place, and how long has it been? 37 minutes. When you're younger, time can take longer like that. I found anyway.
That's sad. That makes me sad. I don't want to think about that. Then he goes and does a hero thing. So he goes to DC, and Ned has one of the Jatari things in his backpack, and he sends it through an X-ray, and that weaponizes it, and it goes off in the elevator, and the elevator gets destroyed. And so Spider-Man has to climb the entire Washington Monument in under 10 minutes, and then break in and catch the elevator.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome. Two things: the DC Metro Police show up instantaneously. Where the fuck were they when Nick needed them?
Yeah.
Yeah. When Nick Fury was in Washington and being attacked by terrorists in broad daylight in the streets. Where the fuck was the DC Metro Police? Just asking.
My take on that was Hydra agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being like, we're taking care of this, stay out of the way.
Whatever. And then, so they're about to open fire. They're like, drop off this building, or they've got automatic weapons pointed at him.
Yeah.
And he's
just yelling that my friends are in there.
Yeah, my friends are in there, and he like leapfrogs over the helicopter and then comes back around and uses it to kind of throw himself through like 3 inches of plexiglass.
Yeah.
Is that enough? I don't know. Maybe that's enough force. Doesn't seem like
he did weaken it a bit. It was cracked.
Okay. And he catches the thing. And there's like a kind of funny scene where the like Flash is
shoves Liz out of the
way to climb out, but then hands his trophy up first. It's like, take my trophy. But yeah, they're all escaping, and of course Liz is the only one left, and then the thing snaps and he has to like catch her with his web and pull her up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
At least they did an Amazing Spider-Man 2 her.
Yeah. Like, not that I'm against... Like, that would have been an amazing death had the movie earned it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he rescues her and he has the moment with Karen. It's all very funny. And then it cuts to, I don't know, something else. I guess maybe back to Vulture, what he's up to. And then it cuts back to Peter and he's in the principal's office getting in trouble or something like that.
Yeah, so I think it cuts to, Vulture talking about how he's got to stop this kid. Like, he's 8 years.
Oh yeah, and then he sees the Washington.
Yeah, and then the Shocker sees the Washington Monument. Like, I found them, and he's climbing up the Washington Monument.
Okay, so, but the point I'm trying to make is, so it cuts to something else, and then cuts back. Peter is elsewhere. I think he's getting off the bus, and everyone's being hugged by their parents.
Yeah.
How did he escape that situation? The DC Metro Police had surrounded the place. Now this is kind of a CinemaSins thing, and I don't want to like just nitpick the movie for no reason, but seriously, like there was helicopters all over the place. The entire place was surrounded.
The last we saw of him in that scene was him falling down the elevator shaft.
Yeah, so
like going through like smoke down the elevator shaft.
So like I'm fine with believing that he survived. Of course, he's Spider-Man. But then how did he get out of that building, get back into his normal street clothes,
which are in
get
a bag
back on the bus by a web? So even if he went back there as a normal person in his underwear or whatever, they'd be like, why is your bag attached to that tree by a web?
Yeah.
But also, he couldn't just leave the building in his underwear and be like to the police, oh, I came in my underwear.
Yeah, there would have had to have been a police chase where he evaded the Metro DC police, then changed back into his normal clothes, then showed up at the monument and be like, oh my god, I'm so glad I wasn't up there.
Yeah. and then MJ kind of looking, well, the person that we later discover is MJ looking at him like, you're Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, it's... I'm not saying it doesn't, like, break the movie or anything, but, like, why didn't you give us that scene? That would have been pretty funny, him evading the police and trying not to hurt anybody, you know? Like, it's,
maybe it was just... Maybe they had a plan for it and it was cut, or maybe they just were like, no one's going to care.
Fuck it, yeah. Well, I cared. I cared. Donald Glover is the best actor alive. He's just so good.
There's lots of like trivia here because people were
he was supposed to be Miles Morales.
They were slating him to be Miles Morales, and apparently his nephew is Miles Morales.
The character's nephew?
Yes, or something like that.
Because he says my nephew lives in this town. I don't want weapons or anything.
Yeah, because the character he plays is a character from the comics, and when he's trying to buy weapons, they mentioned climbers, and he's like, oh, climbers, because his character is like a cat burglar.
Okay.
And so instead of being violent, he's more interested in like the ability to get into places easier. And supposedly, or as far as I remember, Miles Morales is related to that character in some way, and I think it's the nephew.
Oh, okay. More importantly, he plays this like sleepy gangster with a lazy eye, who's like kind of socially conscious, and it's like a nothing scene.
Yeah.
But because the point of the scene is that he's the only one who can tell Spider-Man about the ferry.
Yeah.
So that's his only kind of role in the movie. But yet, and I didn't know about the trivia of him being related to Miles Morales or anything like that. I did know about the controversy that they chose not to have, like, everybody made out like they chose not to have a black Spider-Man because nobody's ready for that yet. We're not woke, but I'm pretty sure they probably had already chosen Tom Holland before the Twitter campaign started.
Yeah.
But anyway, I knew about that. I was surprised that he agreed to be in the movie.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense now if it's like a lead into there's going to be a Miles Morales thing. But then, not only is he in the movie, but he's like...
He steals the scenes that
he's
he's in.
so great.
Yeah.
He's just... Oh, he's like my favourite character. Just like this sleepy gangster.
Yeah.
And he just sort of...
I really like the argument they have about sandwiches and the best sandwiches in New York. And because he was like, oh, I bet this like blown up bodega. It's like, oh, that bodega? Yeah. He's like, yeah, it's got the best sandwiches in Queens. Like, oh no, this place is better. Oh, too much bread. I like bread. It's like a normal argument about the best sandwich place in New York.
With a guy who like approached you as a kind of Batman interrogator.
Yeah. And it's from like I haven't been to New York. I don't know New Yorkers. All I know about them is the sort of
the best sandwich place or the best pizza place.
Yeah, the TV interpretation of them, where they all know the best food place in New York, and you have to eat at their place because it's the best place. And it was a nice nod to that.
I hope like, you know, assuming there's going to be more Spider-Man movies, I hope he does come back. I hope they do the whole Miles Morales thing.
Yeah.
He gets to be in it more because he's great, and I can't wait to see Solo and see him as Lando Calrissian.
Oh my god, that's going to be amazing.
That was a great idea. There's not much to say about it. It's just I want to make sure everybody understands that Donald Glover is in this movie and he's very good.
Yeah.
But then there's the ferry scene where Peter is once again trying his best. Nothing's working, and it turns out that Tony called the FBI but holed out everybody
and didn't tell Peter.
Didn't fill anyone in.
Yeah. And
so the situation goes sour, and Peter tries his best to like fight the vulture, and it's not working.
And again, the vulture is scary.
Yeah.
Like his wingsuit is intimidating.
And it's sharp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And more importantly, so he's able to get out of all the webs.
Yeah.
But so what happens, I really liked a particular part. So basically he can't fight him, and he's decided, well, I need to get the gun away from him because he's, you know, that's the dangerous part. And so he like webs it away, and it like smashes into the ground, and something breaks, and it just starts firing wildly.
Yeah.
And he does the classic kid thing of just cover it up, just cover it with as much things as you can, and then the danger will cease, right? Like, so just that classic kid response of, oh no, something has happened, I'm just going to cover it with as much other things as I can find, and then it will no longer be a problem in my understanding.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
I like that a lot. And then Iron Man saves the day.
Yeah.
And then we find out that Iron Man has actually... This is when he kind of makes it clear that, like, he's been watching all the time. Yeah. And this... Like, he never actually states that this was your trial run, but essentially tells Peter, okay, this isn't working out, give me back the suit.
Yeah, exactly. And they have a really, like, passionate exchange here where, like, Peter's
the
like...
father-son's like, no, shut up, the adult is talking now.
And Peter's like, no, you should have fucking told me anything, and this wouldn't have happened.
Just answer any one of his phone calls.
Yeah, exactly. And like, Tony... Like, Peter says something that must have hit Tony hard, where Peter's like, I'm nothing without the suit. That was Tony in Iron Man. In, what, Iron Man 3?
When he loses the suit.
Yeah, I'm nothing without this. He like had full-on panic attacks because he didn't have his suit. So he must see himself in Peter.
That's the thing, and that's again where I dislike this movie for not holding to its own internal the in-universe consistency of character, because Tony's reply is, if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve to have it. Tony Stark says this.
Yeah, because Tony has learned that you have to be more than the suit.
Has he?
Well, in Iron Man 3 he did.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Has he? Because they do that kind of just throwaway thing in Civil War where he's like, so I trashed all my suits because I was trying to get tight with Pepper, and then, well, I retired, but not really. I didn't, and then I made some more suits. Then Ultron happened, and then. So no, you didn't fucking learn bullshit, man. And you're like trying to teach this kid. And I understand, like, you know, parents are hypocrites. Like, I get it. Like, it's a very common thing to see. But this is more than that. This is more than just a father figure being a disappointment to his son, or being a hypocrite about something that happened in his life or happened with him and his father. Yeah. This is about the internal consistency of the MCU and the arc of Tony going from Iron Man 1 all the way to here. And I know these are just movies. I know they are. But we're committed to this now. Yeah. We've talked for at least an hour about all of these already. So, I can't but feel like Marvel owes us better than that.
Yeah, this movie in particular is out of consistency, which is annoying.
That's all I wanted to say about that.
And then we get Peter goes back to
Being normal. And he asks
doesn't have a suit.
Liz, and she says yes right away.
Yeah, so it's him like getting his life back on track, realizing that life as Peter Parker isn't so bad, even though he's got the tension all of the time, and like he's in trouble because of all of the like ditching in DC and everything. He's getting his life back on track, and then things start working out for him miraculously, like you pointed out. And yeah, he asks Liz out, and then we have the fucking rug pull scene.
An excellent twist.
Oh,
like there
my
are
God.
hints in it, because I made a point, obviously, because I knew about it, so I was making a point to like take notes and pay attention this time. And there are plenty of hints, but they're not like the Sixth Sense hints, you know, where they're deliberately laced throughout the movie for rewatchers. They're subtle. They're just there, you know. There's the scene where it cuts from the scene where they're watching the Washington Monument situation on television,
and
he's watching
and the Vulture's watching it, and
then
he knows who's there.
Yeah, well, the Vulture's watching it, and it immediately cuts not to Peter, but to his daughter being hugged by her mother.
Yeah, and it lingers on his face, like when he sees that scene, it lingers on his face longer than like you know he's looking at Spider-Man, but he's also knows his daughter's in DC.
Yeah,
and then like we know he has a family, but we never know who they are. Because he saw the picture when like at the start of the movie, and he keeps saying he's doing this for his family in all the scenes we have with them, but we don't know who they are. And then he just opens the door,
and he's there,
and oh my God, like the audio drops out, like there's just the background noise, there's no music, and Peter's just like normal events are going on around him, and Peter's just shocked, and the audience, if they hadn't known about this, is shocked as well. And then Peter's just trying to go through the motions, trying to like not freak the shit out because the Vulture is right there, and he's got a knife, and he's asking like questions that are normal, but Peter thinks, are they normal questions? They might not be normal questions.
And it's perfect because this is also he's taking this guy's daughter to the dance, and anyone who's seen any teen movie and any American teen movie knows that there's the whole thing of the father of the daughter,
the father talk.
Yeah.
And it's so perfectly interwoven. Oh.
Yeah, and exactly. And so there's the whole. I question how Liz didn't make the same connection as her father.
Yeah.
I guess it's just the Clark Kent paradox. But like that with the same information, he's immediately goes. So that kid's Peter Parker. Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, he's got the more information. Well, I suppose not more information because Liz knows what Peter Parker sounds like. Or Liz knows what Spider-Man sounds like and what Peter Parker sounds like. Yeah. And that Spider-Man knows her name.
He does. Yeah, exactly. So like that's another thing where they just like, how did nobody do a second pass over the script and go, hang on, in that elevator scene he drops the New York tough guy accent and yells Liz in his own voice and then catches her.
Which is a thing this Spider-Man would do because he's not good at the hero antics.
But yeah, anyway, it's fine. Like the twist does not suffer because of it. Because it's incredible.
This twist is incredible. Even this time, like, every time I watch through it, I'm like, I know it's coming, and it happens. And then for like 5 minutes after it happens, there's no music. There's just the normal sounds of the car and Peter looking like he's in a situation he really does not want to be in, and you get like little stings of music as Toombs is realizing what's going on. And like it zooms in on his face, and the music builds a little bit, and the tension in the scene, it's unbelievable.
The entire like chauffeur scene, where he works it out, and then his questions start to become a little bit more pointed.
Yeah.
And then he just they get there, and he's like, "I'm just going to have the dad talk.
I'm going to have the dad talk. You go inside, honey."
And I think what I liked most about the scene was in the exact with the same sentence. They made him both more human and like way more of a monster. Yeah. So, because he asked Spider-Man whether or not she knows, and he's like, "No, well, I respect that. Play it close to your chest." And he essentially said, like, he just waxes a bit about family and the importance of whatever. Then says, "If you cross my path again, I'll kill you and everyone you love.
And everyone you love.
That's what I'll do for my family."
Yeah.
And so it's kind of it's too bad that he became so cartoonishly evil. And that's what I meant about his kind of immediate turn at the start, where he went from being a regular Joe to being an arms dealer. Where if it was a little bit more nuanced,
if they'd given us a little more of that time
if
between.
you could sympathise with him to an extent, because the thing is, so basically he gives Peter this ultimatum, where if I'm going out of town now, like basically I don't know if he says I'm doing one last job or like.
I don't think so.
Yeah, well,
he just says, if you ever interfere with my business again, I'll kill you and everyone you love.
Yeah, and Peter interferes with him. So Peter like goes after him. There's like a cool scene where Ned gets to help him with the web shooter against Shocker.
Yeah,
and he like, how did he track him down? Oh yeah, he left his phone in the car, that was a pretty genius move. But yeah, so he left his phone in the car, and there's like some funny stuff where he steals Slash's car, and he works his way down there. Ned gets to be the guy in the chair. And he confronts the guy, and Michael Keaton starts chewing the scenery about like the 1%. They don't care about us. Like we gotta live off of their table scraps.
It's like the disenfranchised lower class.
Yeah, and he's making good points. These are all valid points, and he's not wrong. And then he murders Peter Parker, 15-year-old daughter's boyfriend, and just leaves, and he's fine with that.
Yeah,
it's totally cool.
Well, there's one scene earlier in the movie that I had a problem with of the Vulture.
Where he shot the Shocker, the first Shocker?
Yeah, where he just disintegrated a man.
By accident, technically. But he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, which makes you think, was he trying to kill him with the gravity gun that he thought it was? Was that the first person he's killed? I assume not, because he was cavalier about it. Who was the first person he's killed?
Yeah.
Had to be sometime in the last 8 years. And just like that scene stood out to me, like that's strange that like you accidentally killed a man and are so okay about it.
And so is everybody else.
Yeah.
Like this kind of, I know these guys have worked with him for years and they trust him or whatever, but like if that's the first guy you've killed, they're taking it pretty damn well.
Yeah, so it's not the first guy you killed.
And basically he gives Peter a pass because Peter saved his daughter and he can't forget that. Yeah. Like that's worth something to him.
Yeah, that's why you're alive right now.
Yeah, which tells me that he's not a sociopath. Like this guy does genuinely care about his family. They're not a front. They're not something he uses to insulate himself. He is.
He's doing this for his family.
Yeah, like he's the Walter White, right? Yeah. Like so he's evil, but in his own mind,
like an evil Robin Hood.
Yeah, and if that's the case, he brings a building down on a 15-year-old who, he's got like Spiderman powers, but he brings a building down on him and then just walks away like it was nothing. And it's one thing to accidentally kill one of your henchmen because you're...
Well, I think he meant to kill him, just not disintegrate him.
Okay, but it's another thing to kill a child and then not give a fuck because Liz is gonna find out, man. Like this is it's not that simple, So, like, and the thing is, if you go into his frame of mind for that moment, then that means that either he doesn't give a fuck. Like, so Liz is gonna, like, Liz's boyfriend will turn up. Like, Liz's boyfriend will have had a talk from him, ran away, died that night, and then
be found in a Spider-Man outfit under a building.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Vulture will have like ripped off Tony Stark or whatever, and then her and her family will move to somewhere else to be rich.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying she's going to put two and two together. She didn't even figure out that Peter was Spider-Man, but like, it just the fact that they try to establish him as this kind of family man, somebody that you can sympathize with, and especially that they build in this grudge, this genuine, like, authentic, like he's got a point grudge against the Avengers and the
1%ers
and the 1%, like. Were he not selling arms? Were he just kind of stealing this shit? Like, just showing up at, like, sites of violence and, like, stealing it and selling it? I probably wouldn't even consider him a criminal, really. Like, he's kind of a... Opportunist, yeah. Yeah, it's just, again, it's a wildly inconsistent character. And it really likes that scene. Like, it's an excellent twist. And I never see it coming. Like, it's woven perfectly, and it makes sense, and it's great, and it allows them to play on the whole father of the girlfriend thing. Like it's awesome. But that scene, like, there's so much tension in that scene in the car, and so much character, because in the same moment, like, he's this kind of scary but human,
Yeah.
And Peter is scared but clever.
Yeah.
You know, in the same moment. But then they kind of just abandon that because in the next scene he's scary and he murders Peter.
Yeah.
So he's not human. Like, he's not.
Yeah, I have less of a problem with him trying to kill Peter than you do, because that's what he said he would do. This, like, to protect his family, he'd kill Peter. He'll do anything to protect his family. That's the type of man he is. And he sees this as, like, protecting his family. He's wrong. Doing this job so you could become rich isn't protecting your family. But that's where I see him coming from at it. And, like, he gave Peter the out. He was like, you saved my daughter. That's important to me. If you stop right now, you can do what you do for, like, on anyone else, but if you interfere with my business again, I will kill you. And then Peter shows up and he follows through with his threat, which is which to me makes him a good villain, because he's threatening. He nearly kills Peter Parker. He's good at his job.
I guess so. I just feel like he could at least show some remorse for killing a child. Like, he has an axe to grind against the 1%, which has allowed him to build this arms empire without like any self-judgment. Like, he's not really examined his actions, because he has this built-in justification, which makes him fine with it. But he wasn't, like, established as a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah.
You know, like, yes, okay, he killed his henchman earlier in the movie, but again, they tried to play that off like maybe that was an accident. Now, okay, maybe he was going to kill him with the gravity gun.
It was definitely he was definitely trying to kill him.
I think it was more like, I took it as he wasn't trying to kill him. He just wanted to intimidate him. But when he did kill him, he was fine with it. He didn't care. Like, he was happy to brush that off. But still, I still wouldn't call that cold-blooded murder, because this is the guy who's been fucking
endangering
everything, and just like,
and literally just threatened you.
Yeah, and has been threatening. Like, it has been threatening you, going all the way back to when you were legit. Like, he's been a bane. I don't know why the guy still works for you. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, I don't. It's like, also, so right, yeah. We can let that go. He made a threat and he followed through, and that's, I can accept that.
Yeah.
What I can't accept
is
why did nobody follow up on the Vulture after the ferry?
It's a good point. Because he's good at his job. Maybe people tried to, but couldn't find him. He's been doing it for 8 years. No one's found him.
They did. They entrapped him.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was like 15 FBI agents on that boat, and he had no idea, and his buyers had no idea.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, somebody talked, somebody got through, they had some kind of intel, like, they've got some...
Spiderman.
No, Spiderman didn't tell them at the ferry.
That's true.
Spiderman found out about the ferry for Donald Glover, but the FBI, he didn't know the FBI were going to be there. The FBI were tipped off by Tony, and
Tony all knew that there was just weapons being sold,
Yeah, and then the FBI just did their FBI job and did some investigation, so...
Yeah.
But even still, why didn't then after like Tony did it the right way and called the FBI and the FBI failed, why didn't Tony
step in?
This seems like an obvious thing for Tony to be like, okay, especially since this is a guy who built his own Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
You know, just seems like an obvious Tony should step in here.
Yeah.
I understand that because this is the last act of a Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man has to kill him. But it's just weird to me that, and even when they try to tell Happy, he doesn't want to hear it. But Peter's been right this entire time. I know he's annoying and you don't like him, but like, he's been right.
Yeah.
You know, and he's been on the case. So you can't even take his call. Like, it's just, and not taking his call is why this shit keeps happening. If you just listen to him, like, not even, you don't necessarily have to do anything, but you do have to just make him feel engaged.
Yeah. Give him some fucking feedback.
Yeah, it's not much to ask.
Yeah, and then we get the heist, the main heist, where, like you said, Happy screens Peter's calls, and the ship takes off. And he mentions, like, the three things we talked about already: Thor's magical belt, prototype Hulkbuster armor, and Cap's prototype shield. Why
is Tony building a shield for Cap?
I think this is amazing.
Okay.
This rang as bittersweet to me, that Tony was building Cap a shield to give to Cap, but then Civil War happened, and now he's not going to give it to Cap.
You reckon?
That was my take on the scene. It was like a bittersweet Easter egg that he was like, you know what? My father made that shield. I can make a better one. I'm gonna make a shield for Cap, and he'll be proud of me because I'll make this amazing shield for him. And then Civil War happens, and he's like, fuck it.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's why it's in storage still.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I kind of saw it as a.
Or it was just a name drop Easter egg.
One more I saw it as like they've abandoned the notion that there would actually be any consequences for Civil War, and Tony's just going to show up with a shield-shaped olive branch in Infinity War. But no, it could be that, and that's a pretty good idea. Except for the fact that how are you going to top a vibranium shield?
I don't know. And a vibranium shield that's smaller and folds out. A vibranium shield that like is just like, I don't know, a glove, and he just goes ka-ching and it's a whole shield, or an energy shield. I don't know.
Okay.
Because the precedents for energy shields have been set already in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Coulson has one in his robot arm.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Coulson has a robot arm.
Coulson's dead.
There's an an energy shield in it.
Coulson died 10 years ago. You need to let Coulson go.
No. Some of the latest episodes.
Do you remember the start of this movie when they were cleaning up after the Avengers movie?
Yeah.
That's where Coulson died. Coulson died there.
But Tahiti's a magical place.
I've never heard of it.
And then we have the heist, Vulture's heist, which he executes and is gonna get away with. He's good at his job.
Yeah, he's not bad.
He steals Tony Stark's plane.
Yeah, the entire plane.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
It's like a good plan that he executes well and it works. And then Spider-Man ruins it.
Yeah, it's too bad, really.
Yeah, he would have gotten away with it too.
I can't wait for the kind of, the heist movie from the heister's perspective.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was kind of what Ant-Man was, but I'd actually love to see a kind of. I'm trying to think of a movie where criminals do a heist and they get away with it and you're happy about it. I guess like
Inside Man.
Yeah, Inside Man, like just something like that, but in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a kind of successful heist.
Yeah.
That superheroes attempt to stop but fail. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's a kind of a fine fight scene. Like it's interesting that they're fighting on a plane and they keep almost getting sucked into turbines and thrown around and stuff.
I liked that it's not world ending.
Yeah,
the stakes are small. It's a single plane being stolen, and it nearly crashed into some buildings, but it's not like a city's being dropped from the sky or the entire planet's being invaded by aliens. Or
I mean, it is a plane crashing over New York though, so that was an interesting choice. I know it's like 17 years later, but it's still that's still.
And I really liked that if it was any other Avenger, the Vulture might be dead. They might have killed him, another Avenger, or caused him to die, by not killing him directly.
Yeah.
But Peter actually has to go and save him because that's the kind of guy Peter is, and probably Captain America would as well. But some of the other Avengers might not have saved him.
That's true. Yeah, that's something I always wondered about, going all the way back to before we started this podcast.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to, I guess, around the start of the MCU, because the MCU kicked off around about the time The Dark Knight came out, and it hadn't occurred to me when Batman Begins came out. I didn't know that Batman ever had a rule about not killing people.
Yeah.
Or that the not killing people was a much more common thing in DC.
Yeah.
And so then in watching the first Iron Man, he kills so many people.
Oh yeah.
And this is a guy who grew up a billionaire's son, who invented things and drank and was a playboy.
Yeah.
And then he built himself a suit of armor, flew to Afghanistan and killed 20 people.
Yep.
And that was his Saturday, as a matter of course.
Cap has murdered many people as well. He kicked a guy off a boat.
Oh my god. He kicked a guy into the rail of a boat, breaking his back before he was flipped over into the water.
Yep.
So even if he survived, his spine is broken, and so he's going to drown, paralyzed and unable to do anything about it. So think about that harrowing existential nightmare for a second, Captain America. But it's you're right, and it's sort of it's something that's not really thought about.
Yeah.
Because in the MCU, they just kill. If they have to kill people, they kill people. It's not a big deal.
Especially even earlier in the movie during the bank heist, as I think you mentioned to me at some point that how you're talking about how Spider-Man never punches people.
He always pulls his punches.
Yeah, he always
because
pulls his punches.
if he was to swing all the way through, he would knock people into the next 2
Yeah.
seconds.
So in the bank scene, he at one point he like sticks himself to the roof, and then with his foot grabs a guy, like sticks his foot to a guy, and then just like casually flicks his leg, and the guy goes flying into the wall behind him. So instead of like kicking the guy, he just like picks him up and throws him gently.
Yeah.
And it's just a nice thing I noticed on this watch as well.
You know, he is kind of soft, which is... And he's a child, I mean,
Yeah.
he's not coming near to hurt
And
people.
that, actually, there was another point I wanted to make. When he loses focus, when he's just being Peter Parker and he is not
He's
watching
cracking
himself
wise, yeah.
100% of the time, his powers slip out. So there's a scene when they're in the gym and Peter's doing sit-ups.
Mhm.
And Ned is there holding his ankle and Peter's just doing sit-up, 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 like again and again, and talking away normal. And the coach walks by and it's like, good form, Peter. And then he's like, oh. And then he like pretends that it's hard to do the sit-ups.
Oh, I didn't caught that.
Yeah. And then on the scene where he meets, like the big reveal scene, where he meets Toombs and shakes his hand, Toombs like, the hell of a grip you got there. Because
He's frightened
he's
and
not
he's tense.
he's
yeah.
not focused. And so he's got to keep like a lid on his powers the entire time.
Yeah.
And he even alluded to that in Civil War, where he's like, I couldn't play football then, so I can't now, or I shouldn't now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
So he's crazy strong, but he's got to
gotta
constantly moderate it so that he doesn't punch through a wall or like crush a door handle when he tries to open it.
That must make life a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, so he pulls Toombs out of the fire,
Yeah.
which he didn't have to do.
Yeah.
And
I'll leave a little note for him.
loses his notes.
Yeah.
Where did he get a marker? Come on, guys. But yeah, and wraps everything up in web.
Yeah.
And yeah, they like. Well, no, okay, so he goes back to school basically.
Yeah.
And they have that scene where they nominate Michelle as the new captain of the decathlon, and weirdly, she decides now is the time to announce to everybody,
to reveal it.
actually, my friends call me MJ.
Yeah.
So throughout the entire movie, she's made it clear she doesn't have any friends. Therefore, she doesn't have a preset nickname that her friends call her.
Yeah. So she's just picking a nickname for herself.
So, yeah, and also deciding that these people are her friends, despite announcing to everybody that she doesn't have any friends this entire time. But basically what I'm saying is this is a weirdly awkward for a movie that's very organic and everybody talks in a very fluid and authentic feeling way.
Yeah.
This is a very weird and ham-handed way of saying she's Mary Jane. Like she's gonna in the next movie.
Someone else should have said MJ, I think.
Yeah.
Not her.
Or the teacher could have said Michelle Jackson or Michelle something with a J, and then someone else could have said, call her MJ. Yeah. Like it's like we just figured that out in 10 seconds. So it's just weird to me that was the best they could do.
Yeah.
Especially since like that actress was able to deliver some crazy good lines throughout the entire movie.
All of her scenes were amazing. Even scenes where she didn't even say anything.
Yeah.
Were perfect.
Just making faces at people.
Like drawing things and making faces.
So it's weird that like she said that and then didn't kind of turn to the director and go, There's a better way to say this, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is weird. How on the nose do we need to be? Like everybody knows who MJ is. Like, because in a movie where they know that everybody knows, so they don't need to mention Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
So why this? Why does MJ need to have this weird like stick in your mind? That's MJ moment.
Yeah. They should. Maybe if they even didn't say just call me MJ, you should have said, like you said, just say Michelle Jones or whatever.
Yeah. Or like she could, since she's an artist and she's always drawing people throughout the movie, why not put her fucking MJ, like, what's the word? What
signature?
No,
or like
when it's just the letters. Why
initials?
am I so bad at words?
Initials?
Yes, your initials. Why doesn't she just put her initials on everything? And she could like when she drew a thing of it could be an Easter egg. She draws that thing of Peter when he's in detention where he's sad.
About MJ.
Put MJ on it and put it in front of him, and he would like in a later moment, like a quiet moment to himself, he'd be like looking at that picture, which is not a bad likeness.
Yeah.
And then like the camera could hang for a little bit too long on the name, and then just cut away and be like, "What did that? That's the MJ," you know?
Yeah.
There you go. 60 seconds. We came up with something even more. Anyway, forget that.
Yeah.
So Tony, self-proclaimed voice of reason, is unilaterally adding a 15-year-old to the Avengers, and Pepper is cool with that.
Yeah. I don't know if it's unilateral.
It definitely is.
Okay.
Well, it's on screen. It's
Oh yeah,
11.
okay, yeah, right, yeah.
As far as we know,
yeah,
as far as like we haven't seen anything else.
yeah, because the Avengers are private, but they work for the UN.
But also, the Sokovia Accords doesn't just mandate the Avengers. Sokovia Accords is for
All powered,
superpowered people,
Yeah.
and he has superpowers.
Yeah.
So Tony knows about him, but I get the feeling from this movie that nobody else does.
Yeah,
I mean, that's my takeaway from it. Like,
yeah.
they
He's,
never.
he's like the local superhero that hasn't made international news.
But I mean, nobody said anything about them having to make international news.
Yeah.
Like at one point, Wanda and Pietro were the local Sokovian heroes.
The only thing I can think of here is that maybe there is something in the Accords about underage superhero people.
Probably that they're not allowed to be on the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I would put in there.
Yeah.
Because if you're not old enough to drive or drink, you're probably not old
Or
enough
vote.
to fucking go into combat against aliens. Like, come on.
Yeah, it was a bit strange at the end here. It feels like they just needed a way to reveal his fancy new suit for the new movie.
Which they could have just revealed in the new movie,
Yeah.
but whatever.
And again, once again, the Tony and Pepper relationship has
So,
changed.
will-
In 2 months,
In 2 months.
2 months they're like back at it.
It's tumultuous.
Yeah.
Will Tony be Mr. Potts next time we see him?
That'll be interesting.
That would be- will he have responsibilities, you
Yeah.
know, to his wife?
I imagine it'll be Mr. Potts or Mr. Stark Potts. They'll hyphenate.
Be like the Stark Potts Industries.
Yeah.
And then he gives him back the instant kill suit.
Yeah.
He gives it back to him.
Yeah. I
This
imagine
guy who hang on, Steve. He offers him a place on the Avenger. He offers the kid the chance to go legit.
Yeah.
The same way he offered Cap the chance to like join the
Yeah.
team, you know, be on the team, and then the Accords will cover everything you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So he offers this to the kid, and the kid turns it down, which is a mature decision. He's decided he's going to appreciate his life as a child.
Yeah.
The kid says no, right? Like, and so Tony's response to that is to, I assume, go on national television and propose to Pepper, followed by sending this 15-year-old kid a suit with capacity to murder people.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think if they hadn't included the instant kill joke, you'd have less problems with him having a suit.
Oh my god! It can also electrocute people.
True.
It's also got.
It's a taser though.
It's also got grenade web
Yeah.
where like he threw it at a car and when the guy goes past it explodes and that guy's dead now, Steve. That guy was thrown against that wall. He went from being next to the car to hitting that wall in less than a second.
Yeah.
That's more than the body can take.
Yeah,
that guy died.
I know. But if it hadn't made the insta kill, it could be argued that Tony was giving him the suit to keep him safe. Because being a superhero wearing a hoodie, unless you're Luke Cage, you can't do it. While giving him a suit that could protect him could be seen as a responsible thing to do. If it also couldn't kill everybody all of the time.
Fine. Then I guess my problem isn't with Tony the character, it's with the writer of the movie
Yeah.
for being lazy.
Yeah.
Which is also
How did you feel about the Aunt May knowing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man reveal?
That's kind of what they're doing, right? With the MCU, like nobody gets to have
A
secret
secret
identities. It's like everybody finds out straight away. Like Iron Man at the end of Iron Man just declares, "I'm Iron Man."
Yeah.
And I mean that's big. Like in the comic books, Happy Hogan is Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows. Well, everybody thinks this.
And in the comic books, especially Civil War, Peter Parker's integral to that. In Civil War, he comes down on the side of Tony Stark, and when you sign the Registration Act, you have to reveal your secret identity. And Peter Parker was one of the heroes Spider-Man was one of the heroes who had
Set the example
no, yeah, but he had the most.
to lose from it.
Yeah, and he was the most secretive of his identity. And then he came down on the side of Tony and revealed that he was Peter Parker. And that was like a huge thing in Civil War. The comic, anyway. So to have them reveal it so blasé and like just as a joke at the end almost.
Well, I mean, he reveals it to Aunt May. I mean, she's not going to tell him.
To Aunt May. But Aunt May never knew, or like as far as I was aware, or like all the Spider-Man TV shows and everything I watched growing up, Aunt May never knew.
I guess I think, like I said, I think that's just their commitment. Like the MCU has decided that they're not.
They don't want to do the double lives thing.
Yeah, they don't want to do the secret identity conceit. They've just decided our heroes are our heroes.
Yeah.
Well, at least to Aunt May. Like again, you could take it both ways. Like it could be that they're just staying in line with the MCU, like being consistent with like nobody gets to have secret identities in this incarnation of Marvel.
Yeah.
Or you could say that this is lazy screenwriting and it's inconsistent with character, and they just decided like what would make this scene the most fun.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll retcon it. Maybe in the next movie he'll be like, "Oh, I bought it from a store."
Yeah, it's a cosplay.
Yeah, I'm going to Comic-Con now.
Yep.
Bye.
To New York Comic Con in 11 months.
So, and I'm going to take a taxi. I'm not going to swing there. What are you talking about?
I really hope they do not do that. That would be terrible.
Yeah, well, they've committed. Like,
they've committed now, so you got to stick to the guns.
But yeah, I'm not like super thrilled about it. I do like that he has. I guess maybe it's the same as the Uncle Ben thing. It's the same as the MJ thing. Like, we've been complaining about these studios, like, just keep throwing the same fucking stories at us over and over and over. So this, you could argue that this is an example of them actually taking that feedback on board and just subverting all of that shit.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of fine with it. Like, I mean, I'm not precious about Peter Parker. Like, Spider-Man isn't like my kind of all-time or anything.
Yeah.
And obviously I really like the Tobey Maguire movies, but that was then, this is now. Yeah. And I do like...
Spider-Man 2 was an amazing film.
Yeah. But I do like this interpretation, as much as I criticize it, but that's our job here.
No, I like this whole movie. I really like this movie. It's one of my favorite of the Marvel movies, and especially because they don't give us Spider-Man's origin story. Literally, like, his origin story is, I got bit by a spider, the spider's dead, Ned, the spider's dead. And that's it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is, because that's it would normalize, and it would normalize quickly. That's what people, I think, don't. I've always had a problem with Batman because, it's sad to lose your parents. Sure, like, being an orphan's got to be horrible. Being a billionaire orphan, probably not as horrible, but still, being like losing your parents has got to be a big traumatic event in your life.
Yeah.
But in the real world, people normalize, and they normalize a lot quicker than you would think.
Yeah.
And you can get used to an aberrant situation very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, way quicker than you would believe yourself capable of. And so to have Peter, especially because he's 15 and you don't really fucking consider anything when you're 15, like, it takes 6 hours to go 37 minutes, so I find it's like completely believable, and actually makes the movie feel more authentic to me, that he's like, I got bit by a spider, Ned. Like, that was 6 months ago. It's different now. Like, like, spiders.
Keep up with the times. It's been 8 months.
Yeah. Like, even if the spider survived the bite, he'd be dead now. Spiders don't live that long, Ned. But yeah, because this is just his normal now, and like, yes, it's new to Ned, and so we get like Ned's kind of questions.
Ned's questions are amazing.
But like, it makes sense to me that Peter would be kind of blasé and indifferent to it at this point, because this is normal now, and that's something they never really. Tobey Maguire's Peter was very like introspective and brooding, and like the nature of Spider-Man. What does Spider-Man mean to me? And like, it's totally for like a while afterwards, as you adjust to your new status quo. You would be introspective and brood, think about the implication this is going to have for you as a person going forward. But then you would normalize. This will just become your new normal, and it
becomes routine.
Yeah.
Which is what we see in this movie. We see Spider-Man going through his routine.
Yeah.
He gets off school, he jumps over a fence, he puts on the Spider-Man suit, and he goes out and, like...
just sort of wanders around looking for crimes. It's really cool. I like the kind of... Like, nobody steals a bike with that much fervour. You know, when people steal bikes, they wait for no one to be looking, and then they clip the thing, and then they cycle away on the bike as if it's their bike. That's how you steal a bike. This guy's like, steals a bike, and then he's like cycling down the footpath, like knocking people out of the way, like this, like he's just robbed a bank or something. It's pretty good.
I also liked how blasé the citizens were about a vigilante.
Oh, Spider-Man!
Yeah, you're that spider dude
from YouTube. Hey, do a flip.
Which is something you like. The people like, because like we were just talking about. Things get normal. So after 8 years of crazy hijinks and superheroes, they become part of everyday life. And you just see a superhero on the roof, like, awesome, do a flip. Man,
Say like that's because that's what I really like about the Defenders minus Danny Rand. That like Luke Cage is just Luke, you know. Everybody knows him in is it Harlem?
Luke is Harlem.
Harlem, like everybody knows him, and he kind of people want to high five him and stuff, and like everyone just thinks he's their bro and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like Jessica Jones, everybody knows like she's this super strong person, but nobody. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it kind of just it doesn't really have any bearing on her life. And actually, Matt Murdock is one of the very few people in the MCU who has a secret identity.
Yeah, a proper secret identity. Yeah. Speaking of the Defenders,
yes.
The first time I saw this movie, and we see Vulture in his white overalls in prison in New York, and he's walking in the hall, and I'm like,
"Where's the Punisher? Where's Kingpin?"
I was like, "Is Vincent D'Onofrio just going to be on screen here? Are we going to hear his dulcet tones? And he's going to like, I have a proposition for you in that Vincent D'Onofrio voice."
That would be.
It would have been unbelievable, and would have
that would have been the perfect way to tie the
to tie them in.
Together, yeah.
But they're not going to do it. But I want them to do it so much because Kingpin to me is a Spider-Man villain from the Amazing Spider-Man like cartoon show that was on when I was growing up in the 90s. Kingpin was like the villain that like rounded up all the other villains that Spider-Man fought against, and just having him be even just in that cameo would have been perfect. It would have like tied the film off in an amazing bow for me.
But instead, so you've gone on to the post-credit scene there where Toomes ends up in prison, and he meets, I can't remember the character's name, but it's Scorpion. Yeah, like we kind of now understand him to be Scorpion because he looks a bit like Scorpion.
And he has a scorpion tattooed on his neck.
And he basically says we should team up and kill Spider-Man.
Yeah, I know. I hear that you know who Spider-Man is. And
he gets his sort of redemption here, where he has an opportunity to give Peter up, and he's like, you know what? If I knew who Spider-Man was, he'd be dead already.
Yeah,
which is. It's not nothing.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And it goes back to his, when he has the conversation with Peter about, like he's got nothing against Peter. Peter's just getting in his way.
Yeah.
And were he anybody else, he probably would have just killed him already. But Peter saved his daughter.
Saved my daughter.
And so he owes him something. And now Peter's also saved him.
Exactly. So he's like, he is a criminal and he's a bad guy, but he has his own code of honor.
Yeah. It's cool. I like it's.
And he survived.
He did survive.
He's alive.
That's true. A villain lived.
He's a Marvel villain who lived.
Played by Michael Keaton.
Played by Michael Keaton, and he's a good villain in my eyes. He's one of the better ones.
And
and so he could be used in a new movie with the Sinister Six, perhaps.
Is the Vulture one of the Sinister Six?
I think so. Vulture, Shocker, Scorpion, Rhino,
Doc Ock,
Green Goblin, Mysterio, I think.
Okay.
And I have some of those people there. I really liked in this movie as well that all of the Shockers, Shocker 1 and Shocker 2, had yellow sleeves, which is again a throwback to the 90s cartoon, where the Shocker's outfit was like some sort of, it was crazy, it was black like on the legs and torso, but had yellow sleeves with like this crisscross line pattern on them. And each of the Shockers in this had yellow sleeves at one point, and I was like, that's amazing. That's an amazing like Easter egg.
Nice touch. Yeah, there's a lot of nice touch. There's a lot of like affection for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like throughout this.
It was handled lovingly.
Yeah. And then if you sat through 15 minutes of VFX artists, you got the inevitable meta post-credit scene where Chris Evans comes out
and talks about patience.
And also it's a callback to earlier in the movie where Chris Evans was the
guy in the gym,
the guy in detention, like kind of rapping with the kids.
Yeah.
And so he comes out and he's like, I'm here to talk to you about something called patience.
Yeah.
And so he goes on about
every
patience.
student and soldier knows it's really important.
And sometimes it's not worth it.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't pay off at all.
But then at the end, he turns to someone off camera and goes, how many more of these we got?
Yeah.
Which, like, obviously he's talking about his, like,
how many more shoots he's got to do.
But it could also be, how many more Marvel movies have we got? Like, is this over yet? Like, how many more times are we going to do this post-credit conceit? Make everybody sit through the entire fucking credit scene? Like, that said, obviously, nobody ever, like, most of the people who work on the movie, nobody ever hears about because nobody sits through the credits. So for that, Marvel should probably be applauded. And I'm sure, like, the visual effects community are very happy that they've made this a trend now.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, sometimes I want to go home, especially if I went to a midnight screening, guys. I want to go home now. But yeah, It's a very, very fun movie, and
It is.
every scene is milked for as much fun as possible.
It is very
Sometimes
fun.
at the expense, I think, of plot or character development.
Yeah. Or even drama sometimes.
But I had a great time. I could,
Yeah.
there's no argument.
Even this time I was laughing out loud at some of the jokes and some of the tension scenes. The one thing that didn't hit me as hard this time as it has the other times is that scene where the building lands on him. And
Right, yeah.
he turns back into
Peter.
not Spider-Man, but Peter. And he's just like a scared kid because he can't move and he's trapped. The first time I saw it, I'm pretty sure I teared up at that, like just at like his voice
Yeah, it was
breaking
scary.
and everything. But this time it didn't hit me as much. It was still an impactful scene, but the main thing I took away from it this time was that when he was telling himself to get up, he says, "Come on, Peter," and then "Come on, Spider-Man, come on, Spider-Man, come on, Spider-Man."
Yeah.
So like, does he see himself as Spider-Man? Does he see himself as Peter?
I think, yeah, I guess this is sort of his moment to stop fucking around. Like, he's been fucking around the entire movie.
Yeah.
And that's sort of a big point in the movie, and that's sort of why he keeps getting dressed down by Tony, and why, as Spider-Man, nothing ever seems to work out for him, because he doesn't take it seriously. Like, you know, he just keeps rocking up to these situations where he's way out of his depth and literally calling the guy out.
Yeah.
Like,
He always has to make the quip.
yeah, even when he has an edge, you know, even when he's like, when he's on top of the truck and he's taken the bag of whatever the guy was trying to steal. He's already taken it from him.
Yeah, stuff from the Triskelion.
Yeah, he's already succeeded. But then he calls the guy out, and the guy bests him, and like, and the same when he has Toombs in the warehouse at the end. Like, Toombs wants him here. This is a trap.
Yeah.
And he announces his presence a good like 200 yards away from Toombs. There's no, like, he could have covered that distance in a second.
Yeah.
And then he would have had the initiative, you know. But he just doesn't take it seriously. He treats this like a game.
Yeah.
And now it's real.
Yeah.
And now nobody's coming to help him. No, there's nobody around to save him, and there's no special suit that's tracking him, and you know he's got a guardian angel. This is down to him, and if he's really gonna be Spider-Man, he needs to really be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, he's like, "Come on, you chose this. You're Spider-Man. Be Spider-Man. Come on, Spider-Man." That's what I took from it. Is like, I finally have to start. Like, if I'm gonna be Spider-Man, I have to be Spider-Man.
Yeah. No, that's a good take on it. Yeah.
That was a weird.
Nice finishing to your point. But yeah, any other points? I've gone through pretty much everything I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm that's all I had to say.
Yeah, except for one more thing was that just the awkward teenage interactions that all of the characters had with every other character was amazing. It felt so real.
It did feel real.
And so nostalgic for my own teenage years.
Yeah, and not like there's lots of different ways that people play teenagers in teen movies and stuff like that, and sometimes when they go for the awkward things, I find it very difficult to watch.
Yeah.
You know, I find it not even just because it reminds me of being a teenager, it's more that their performances are so awkward, I feel like cringing.
Yeah.
But in this one, it was funny. It was funny awkward.
Yeah.
It was the same, it was that kind of Arrested Development, Michael, it's super bad, you know.
Yeah.
That kind of, it's awkward, but in a way that's comfortable for the audience.
Yes.
So they found that perfect sweet spot, and they maintained it through the whole movie.
Yeah.
Especially the MJ character.
And the news broadcasts.
Oh my, yes! The Betty Brant and whatever the guy's name was, like, yeah, I forgot, neither of us mentioned those the kind of in school news show that they have, that like...
Yeah, like, obviously like it's an extracurricular activity for them to get into like news anchoring later in life. And
yeah, they're like the delivery. It's because only like they come across like really awkward bad actors.
Yeah. And
only incredible actors could do that and make it seem like really funny.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Same with year one in the lift in the Washington Monument. Now this is the Washington Monument.
Oh yeah.
It is 500 meters.
Yeah, like I said, every scene in this movie is squeezed for maximum fun. So Spider-Man Homecoming, what do you think?
I really enjoyed it. It's one of my more favourite Marvel movies because of like the villain's good, the overall story's good. I really enjoy Spider-Man as a character. I grew up with like watching the Spider-Man cartoons a lot. Spider-Man and like the X-Men cartoons are the ones I watched on TV when I was a kid. So it's always fun to see him on the big screen.
Yeah. I liked it too. Like it's a very fun movie and a lot of fun watching it. And I like, same as you, I really like the character of Spider-Man, and I really like this interpretation of him. And I think if this had actually been a solo movie and wasn't beholden to the rest of the MCU, it would have been one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
And so the only thing for me that really brings it down is the kind of lack of consistency.
Yeah.
And the fact that this movie sort of has a very devil-may-care attitude to the existing Marvel continuity.
Yeah.
Which,
for being based on the existing Marvel continuity.
Yeah.
Like the plot is based on the existing Marvel continuity.
Yeah, and they start so strong. Like it's woven in so well at the start, and then they just sort of, it's just character thing. And because we're coming so close to the end, or at least the end of this incarnation, it's so important now. This is when they should be tightening, not loosening, you know.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's still a really fun movie.
Yeah.
And I like it a lot.
Yeah. So what's next in the series?
Next, well, we're going to do Doctor Strange next, and I think the next movie is it Black Panther?
From Homecoming? No, it's got to be Ragnarok or Guardians 2.
Could be. When does it come out?
It's Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man, Ragnarok.
Yeah. Okay. So then.
So yes, the next one in series would be Ragnarok.
Yeah. Sorry, we're recording these out of sequence because
we're running out of time.
We're running out of time, but also because Civil War, like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Doctor Strange, and Thor Ragnarok kind of have no real connection to the rest of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
They're sort of setting up their own stuff, whereas Civil War runs directly into Spider-Man Homecoming. So we watch Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming the same weekend. So next, for the person who is for some reason listening to all of these in release order, is Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot to say about that movie.
This has been the Saturated Industries podcast. I have been Danny.
And I've been Steve.
And we will see you next time.